Welcome to the LOOPER Podcast, a show where we make the rounds with interesting golf personalities. Here's your host, Peyton.
Hello and welcome to the LOOPER Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the show today. In today's Caddie Tips episode, we're going to be talking about aiming. But before we do that, I want to ask you a real quick favor. Please be sure to leave the show a 5-star review wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. That would really help the show out. Now, our topic today may seem a bit simple. Aiming is something that most people feel like they can do and rarely notice when they're doing it poorly. But I see students all the time who set up incorrectly, hit a good golf shot, but miss their target not because of their swing, but because they were aimed incorrectly. So we're going to talk about some tips on how you can make sure that you're aimed correctly every time and how to pick a target to actually aim at. Now, in golf, aiming is a bit different and it's a little more difficult than other sports in my opinion. In basketball, the ball is directly between the player and the target, right? Same thing in other sports like archery and shooting, where your eyes don't actually leave the target. In golf, you have to look at the ball. Of course, I'm not advocating that we change how the golf ball is struck, but we don't have the luxury of seeing our target when we take a swing. And in a way, it's a bit disorienting because you stand over the golf ball and it feels the same whether you're aimed correctly or incorrectly. I just played golf a couple weeks ago with someone who was hitting some really good golf shots, but on every shot he was aimed 20 to 30 yards right. And then he hit a fade, and he was a right-handed player, which made his shots miss even more right. Once I told him that he was aimed incorrectly, he was just shocked. A small adjustment was made before the shot, and he started playing some really good golf on the back nine. And it didn't take a single adjustment to his actual swing, and he probably shot 5 to 10 shots better on that second nine. So aiming can be one of those things that when done correctly can dramatically improve your game without any extra work. Even if you're aiming correctly right now, double checking with these tips will give you the confidence standing over the golf ball that it's not something that you even need to think about or have any doubt about in the back of your mind. Bad aim can also affect your golf swing in a negative way too, though. If you're aimed way right of the target, like in the example I just said of the guy I mentioned, you can oftentimes feel it in your body without knowing it in the front of your mind. What I mean by that is that if you aim way right, a lot of players will then swing their club path way to the left to offset their aim. They have to compensate for the mistake in aiming by creating another swing flaw that's also hurting the rest of their game. Proper aim can allow you to swing the correct swing and not try to fix one swing flaw with another swing flaw. And those things add up over time, and it can be a long, frustrating process to unravel all the swing issues that we've added over time and been built up that really can kind of come down to just aiming correctly and swinging the correct swing. All right, so let's get into how you can actually make sure that you're aimed correctly. And it's pretty simple. I call it selecting a secondary target. Imagine your ball is sitting in the middle of the fairway, about 150 yards away from the pin. Once you've selected your club, you need to stand behind the ball so that it's directly between you and the target. For example, we'll just say that the flag is your target in this example. Pick out something on the ground that's in line with your target, but only about 1 to 2 feet in front of the ball. That's your secondary target. It's much easier then to aim at something 1 to 2 feet in front of you than it is something that's 150 yards down the hole. Picking something that's close allows you to keep that target in your field of vision when you're standing over the ball. Standing behind the ball allows you to find something that's directly in line so that you can trust that the item you've picked out, whether it's a blade of grass, a piece of dirt, or rock, or something else, you can trust that it's on the correct line and you don't have to look at your target and kind of guess whether you're lined up correctly. Then, as you set up to the ball, you want to aim your club face at that secondary target, not your body. I hear it all the time from amateur golfers that they want to aim their body or their shoulders at the target, but your body isn't in line with the target. And if you were to do that, if you were to aim your body at the target for a right-handed player, you would miss right of the target. Instead, for a right-handed golfer, your body ought to be parallel left of your target because you stand on the left side of the golf ball. So set your club face lined up with the secondary target, and then your body parallel to that. And once you've got that set, you want to make sure that your body is set up correctly. There are 4 parts that I always check to make sure are aimed and aligned correctly. Those are the feet, hips, forearms, and shoulders. If you were to lay an alignment stick across each one of those body parts, they would all be parallel. Even if you get your club face set and square the target, you can still be aimed incorrectly if any of those body parts aren't parallel to each other and parallel to the target. All right, so now that you're aimed correctly, we need to talk about where to aim. Years ago, I worked at a course that used to hold the Big 12 championships every couple years. It still does. I played around with a guy who played at Oklahoma State University, which is one of the premier golf teams in the country. One thing he said that stuck out to me as really interesting, he said that before the Big 12 championships when he was in school, his coach told the whole team to play for the middle of every green. Basically, they weren't to aim at any flags unless it was obviously in the center of the green. That coach wanted his guys to hit the greens instead of go for these tap-in birdies. These weren't your average amateur golfers either. They were the best amateur golfers in the world who would soon be playing on the professional tour. Some of them are out there right now. They could aim at every pin if they wanted to and be successful a lot of the time. But they didn't, and they ended up winning the championship that year. And one thing that those guys understand is that it's important to hit the green and not take the risk of kind of short-sighting yourself on one side of the green where you don't have a lot of green to work with and you got to get up and down, and that's how scores get added up really quickly. So if it's true for the players of that skill level that they should aim for the center of the green, then it ought to be true for your average amateur golfer as well. When hitting into a green, don't be tempted by a pin that's close to an edge, in a tricky spot. Give yourself the best chance to hit the green and start putting by aiming at the middle of the green. The same thing goes for a fairway as well off the tee. Don't think about your next shot and what sort of angle you want. Just worry about hitting the fairway and giving yourself the best odds of hitting the fairway. Now, with all that being said, if you're not hitting the ball straight, don't aim straight at the middle. Instead, play for your ball flight. Know your game. If everything is going right, then aim left so that your normal ball flight will take the ball to the middle of the green. Most of us have a ball flight that's fairly predictable. We see it consistently, maybe not every time, but most of the time. It may not be one that we particularly like, but we know we'll probably hit it in one direction or another, and that's okay. Most of the pros don't hit it straight every time either, but they know which direction, left or right, it's going, and they can play for it. So don't aim directly at your target if you don't often hit the ball straight. Now, if you're fading or slicing everything right, don't aim out of bounds or over water or anywhere dangerous just in case you do hit it straight. I see that a lot as well, where golfers are hitting this big slice, and so they'll aim out of bounds and then try to slice it back in the middle of the fairway, and then they hit it dead straight and knock it out of bounds. So aim as far left or to one side as you can to where a straight ball will not punish you. Too often I see players do that where they assume that it's going to slice a ton or hook a ton or whatever it is, and then they bring those trouble areas into play. So don't put yourself in a position where you'll be upset by a great shot. That's not the sort of reward that you want for doing everything correctly. Finally, when standing on the tee box, you get to put your golf ball wherever you want, within the teeing area, of course. So take a look down the hole and see if there's any immediate trouble that you see off the tee. Is there water or out of bounds close that you need to avoid? And if so, tee up your ball on the side of trouble. So if you've got out of bounds on the right, tee up your ball on the right of the tee box and play back to the left. That gives you a better angle, a better view at the hole, and gives you more confidence to be able to hit that fairway. So then you aim back the opposite way, and that gives you just more room and a better angle to avoid that immediate danger, which is where scores add up very quickly. So if you can do those things, if you can pick a secondary target and commit to it, allow your body to stay parallel to that target line in those 4 areas: the shoulders, the forearms, the feet, the hips, and then if you can aim for the big parts of the fairway, the big parts of the green, and know your ball flight, then you can take that to the course and you can trust that you're not going to get into any trouble, because that's where scores add up really quickly, is that people hit balls into the hazards and they don't play for the correct line, and then they see their ball hit a bunker or get short-sighted on one side of the green. But if you can play for the safe spots, if you can hit the shots that you know you're going to hit and trust your game, then I think you're going to see your scores drop a lot quicker. And it's just about playing smarter out there. It's not about changing a whole lot of what you're doing in your swing, but just knowing how to play your game the way it is right now. Well, that's all for now for this episode. Hopefully you found it helpful and can start having a bit more confidence in your ability to aim at the correct target and execute those shots. If you're interested in getting individual coaching from me, I give online lessons through an app called Skillist. Check out the link in the description below for more information on that and connect with me there. Play well out there and love the game. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe and rate The Looper wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow the show on Twitter and Instagram @Looper Podcast. Talk to you next time.